Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. As the playoffs begin this weekend, the Lakers have developed one very important strength, and we will tell you what that is next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how, where you get your podcasts. This one's always free, never behind a paywall, and Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 34,000 subscribers, all of whom, Andy, are wondering what exactly this series is going to look like once it finally kicks off over the weekend. Saturday, 5:30 in LA is the time for game one at the Crypt, Andy. It's been a while since the city hosted a playoff game, and I think the atmosphere, to say the least, is going to be bananas.
It's also been a long time since the Lakers have hosted the first game of the playoffs on a Saturday. Like, that is super unusual. It was funny, you and I were both expecting the Lakers to open on Sunday because that's what they traditionally do. And then when the schedule came out and the Lakers were slated for Saturday, we realized that all of the 3 through 6, 4 through 5 teams are playing on Saturday, and then all of the 1 and 2 seeds will be going up against their 7 and 8s because those teams all were part of the play-in. And we realized the Lakers opening their series of late on Sunday wasn't because of the tradition, it's because they've always been a play-in team. We kind of conflated the two together because it's the thing we had been used to. But in reality, it's because the Lakers in the play-in era have either been a play-in team or missed the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. So a nice shift, a good reason for a small change in tradition for this season. So a few things we want to break down over the course of the show. Did an interesting, every week we do the Western Conference Squad show here on the network. A bunch of hosts from around the network today. It was sort of an all playoff edition. So a lot of interesting questions and comments that came from that I think we'll relay. I think that show gets released at some point on Tuesday. I'm not totally sure. But one of the things that we talked about for Monday, Andy, was trying to parse out the relative strengths of these teams, because there isn't much head-to-head that's meaningful with this year. 3 of the 4 games between the Wolves and the Lakers came before the Doncic trade and therefore are meaningless. The 4th one was just a weird game because Luka didn't have his sea legs under him. He had a really bad game. Rui got hurt. That was the game where he got hurt. And then on Minnesota's side, no Rudy Gobert, no Julius Randle, and Ant got tossed. So yes, the Lakers won, but hard to draw lessons. So we looked a lot at things like net rating and all that stuff, not so much to take down the Lakers and say they're not as good, but to remind people that the Wolves have actually been a very good team all season long. 4th best net rating in the league as a team for the season. One of the things, though, that we didn't actually get to in terms of just talking about, so I think this was on our agenda for last week. We didn't quite get to it. The Lakers have maybe a lower net rating, but it's very possible, Andy, when you're looking for things to say that maybe the Lakers have an advantage here, one very important spot where they've been thriving.
Their closing unit, or the unit that JJ will be looking in most circumstances to close with: LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Austin Reaves, Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith. They have been very good, both as an overall group. These are some numbers before the Houston game, although that game certainly wouldn't bring any of them down. But that group had a plus 18.6 net rating and a 124.9 offensive rating through 13 games together. And then as a fourth quarter unit, and per Raj Chipalu over at Silver Screen and Roll, great Lakers coverage. Definitely check out his stuff both with the site and online. this lineup has already played the most fourth quarter minutes for the Lakers between the injuries during this season, some of the roster movement, and then just JJ drilling down on a group that he likes. Plus 22.5 in the fourth quarter for LeBron, Luka, Reaves, Rui, DFS. Does that automatically mean that it's going to translate just as strongly, specifically against the Timberwolves? No, but it gives you a lot of confidence heading into the series because that is really good work by a group that doesn't feel fluky succeeding like that. They make a lot of sense together as a group.
Yeah, and I think that that it's critical. And one of the things that I think is going to dictate this series is, obviously, and this is I didn't invent this idea. Late game execution is really important in the playoffs. The Lakers had this horrible run against the Denver Nuggets in these relatively close games when they lose these series. Was it 9 games? And I know we've repeated the numbers here a lot. 7
they lost by a combined 50 points over 2 playoff series,
right? And eight losses there, and 7 of those games were reasonably close at some point halfway or beyond in the fourth quarter, sometimes much later than that. I described it. The Lakers
lost 2 games last year on Jamal Murray buzzer beater and game winners. Yes. I mean, that you can't get any closer than that.
What the Lakers had, and they often had leads, they blew them because what they had against Denver was what I kind of call a last mile problem. They could not get from 3 minutes to the end of the game without bad things happening. So those last 5 minutes are going to be critical in every series, and especially this one. So that is a place where you would expect the Lakers to thrive because they have LeBron, because they have Luka, because they have AR. And then when you mix in the fact that that group has been so good, that's a place where you look at and say, okay, advantage Lakers for sure.
Well, I mean, LeBron and Luka are 2 of the best choices any team would ever want for crunch time minutes and offensively being able to control the action. You have 2 of the best options on the same team. You could make an argument they are the 2 best options in the entire playoffs in terms of dictating offense, controlling the action. And if you don't think they're the top 2, they are certainly 2 members of a very short list. And in bringing in Luka, you have a better crunch time orchestrator and facilitator than D'Angelo Russell last season, because that's really who Luka is replacing along those lines. And then Austin Reaves is both better now than he was last season at it, and because he's now the 3rd facilitator in this group, the bar for him isn't even as high in a lot of ways as it was last season, even though he's actually better at it this year than he was last year. And then you combine a guy like DFS, who is a proven 3-point shooter, proven guy in big games, and that Rui this year is better than he was last year. Like, I think the improvement of Austin and Jackson Hayes in a lot of ways, I think, has overshadowed just how much I think Rui has improved this season. So all of that, again, I think bodes very well for the Lakers moving forward in this series.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there were some people who were on the YouTube channel who were like really annoyed, I think, with us because we spent a lot of the segment and a half noting that the Timberwolves are good. I mean, one person said we had fear, too much fear in our voices. We were projecting too much fear. We said at some point during the show that once we kind of come up with our predictions, we're already both planning to pick the Lakers to win the series.
Yes.
I mean, the Wolves are good, folks. That's just how it is. Now, I think the Lakers can elevate and possibly make this a quick series. I think it's gonna be a longer one. I do have another number though, as long as we're breaking these things down, that also indicates that perhaps the Lakers have a bit more of an advantage than some of the advanced data might suggest. I'll tell you what that is next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Hungry Root. Spring is here. Life is busier than ever between work, family, everything in between. Who's got time for grocery shopping and meal prep? That's why Hungry Root is great. It makes eating healthy, delicious meals simple and stress-free. Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of the grocery shopping and the meal planning, offering personalized recommendations based on your health goals and tastes. I love how Hungry Root tailors my orders based on what I like or what I didn't like. It gets smarter every time. With their high quality, nutritious food, you can stick to your gut-friendly, high-protein diet without spending hours prepping and planning and shopping and all that stuff. The meals come together in 15 minutes or less, giving you more time for either working out or spending time with your families, whatever hobbies, sleeping, I don't know, me time, whatever you want to do while you're saving time in those 15 minutes. Hungry Root has you covered. Take advantage of this exclusive deal. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Very good if you plan to live a long time. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item.
So before we get to those fancy numbers, Andy, we have mentioned the Locked On Lakers newsletter. It's a way to keep up with not just with the show, but what's happening around the league, especially important as we get into the playoffs. Great analysis from us 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, but it also comes with input and analysis from around the network. So you get all the input from other great hosts and from our writers as well. So if you are able to register for this thing, Andy, there could be a lot of good stuff in it for you, because Locked On Lakers, we are ready for playoff basketball, and we got you covered every step of the way. If you subscribe to the Locked On Lakers podcast newsletter, you can register to win one of three amazing prizes: a $2,500 Best Buy gift card to upgrade your sports watching setup, $300 game time gift card, $200 Fanatics gift card. This is from now through April 30th. If all you have to do, you subscribe, you click on the link in the subscription, in the description, and then you can win. You go to LockedOnDaily.com, click on Locked On Lakers, and some of these prizes could be yours. Again, LockedOnDaily.com, click on Locked On Lakers. So, in addition to the lineup thing that you just tossed out there, Andy, there is another indication that the Lakers might have an advantage over the Wolves, despite the fact that the one game difference in the win column this year. Minnesota overall better analytically than the Lakers. If you break down,
stop projecting fear, Brian.
I know. Owen Phillips.
Why are you cowering in the corner? Why are you in the fetal position?
He writes a newsletter about data in the NBA called the F5. I don't know who he is, but he has a great table that's making its way around social media today, and it includes the records against teams based on net rating. So your record against the top 10, the middle 10, and the bottom 10. The Lakers are 19-13 against teams in the top 10 in net rating. Minnesota is 14-14. Not the same amount of games. Nobody plays the same schedule, all that stuff. I didn't break this down to find out when they played some of the teams, who was hurt, who was not, whatever. But shorthand here, the Lakers stronger against the better teams in the league, where the Wolves have really thrived. They are 22-7 when they play teams in the bottom 10 in net rating, and they were 13-12 against teams in the middle 10. The Lakers were 21-8, very similar against the bottom teams, and actually played rather poorly, 10-11 against the middle 10. But what matters is kind of how, at this point, is how you show up against the good teams. And the Lakers not only were better against the best teams than Minnesota was. They were better against the best teams than Minnesota, and they were especially good down the stretch against those teams. Like the Lakers' record post Luka against the best teams is really good.
We talked about this a lot over the course of the season, for better or for worse, and in ways that sometimes led to pounding your head against the wall. The Lakers sometimes saved their best for the best, and there would be times where it felt like, you know what, if they just would apply that same focus, they could have a better record and put away some of these bottom feeders of the league. And for whatever reason,
they were the 3 seed anyway. So what they did worked.
They could have been a 2 seed.
Maybe.
They could have just been a night to night more consistently pleasurable experience over the course of 82 games, or at minimum until Luka arrived, whichever piece of that schedule you want to prioritize. But the point being, this was a habit of the Lakers that often led fans and us to worry about things coming back to bite them in the ass. I guess now that they are the 3 seed and their ass is intact, you can just look at this.
It is unbitten.
No, they got 2 cheeks looking lovely right now. So you can just view these stats as pure reassurance, as opposed to, well, then why the bleep didn't you just do that all year? But either way, it does bode well to the actual task at hand in the playoffs.
I mentioned that we did this show earlier in the day, taped the show, the squad show, and 7 of us at one point or another were on this recording. The question came up: who do you picking in this series? All 7 hands went up for the Lakers, and I'm not surprised. I expect when we get all the when you see the charts of who everybody ESPN is picking, who everybody here is picking, like that the Lakers will be the favorites in the series. They should. I was a little surprised that nobody picked Minnesota. Nobody in 7. Most media types are. Somebody always wants to be the contrarian. I mean, heck, Matt Moore was on this thing. So, I can, to whatever the wisdom of crowds is worth. I mean, I guess the Lakers fans who thought we sound too scared yesterday, maybe they have a point.
Again, Skurd was just acknowledging that the Wolves don't suck. I mean, and pointing out some of the areas that, if nothing else, they're going to test the Lakers. Like the Wolves are a very good test for how much will the Lakers' lack of conventional size matter in a series, because Minnesota is one of the biggest teams that they will face in the playoffs, just definitionally. It could be something the Lakers have to contend with and at times causes them problems, but they still end up winning the series in 6. Like, you can sometimes control an entire series while still having to navigate issues that present trickiness. Like all of these things can be true at once. It's very rare for a team to pull a 2001 Lakers where they lost 1 game on a championship run.
Right.
They were,
the Moses Malone. Is it Moses Malone? Fo?
Yeah. I mean, the Lakers that year went 15-1 because back then the opening round was best of 5. Like, they didn't lose a game until the Allen Iverson step over in the finals against Philly. And that team was awesome. But so are the other championship teams of the Lakers or any other franchise that, lost some games along the way to winning a championship. Like, that is normal.
And typically you don't play a 50-win team. If you're the 3 seed, you typically do not play a 50-win team, which I'm going to go ahead and round up for Minnesota. That's what they are. Basically 3 through 8 in the conference are essentially 50-win teams. I mean, Memphis, and think how bad Memphis had to play over the last month to not quite get to 50, because they were on track for a lot of the year.
Yeah, Taylor Jenkins knows.
Yeah. So, like, when you start to look at these things, it's like This is not a typical first round series, and I'm going to do TV, Spectrum Sportsnet here in LA. I'm going to go do that on Monday, after we're done recording this. And one of the things we're talking about is like, how do you contain Anthony Edwards? Okay, well, one of the things, to your point, Andy, that might be really hard for the Lakers is putting a lid on Ant. My thinking about this is, well, you know what? You don't need to put a lid on Ant to win the series. Ant can go off and have a great series. We heard Stephen A. Smith talking about it on Monday afternoon, challenging Anthony Edwards to put up huge numbers. He can do that. From my point of view, it's making sure that when Ant goes off, Julius Randle doesn't also have 28. Like, that's going to get you in trouble. So you could look at this at the end of the series and say the Lakers had this weakness. They couldn't control Anthony Edwards, but they might win the series in 5 or 6 games or 7 games anyway. To your point, it never aligns completely when you're talking about essentially 2 50-win teams, that one team is going to be able to counter every strength of the other team. It's just a matter of which team can mitigate their weaknesses more relative to the other one. Lakers made an interesting choice with the backup center position going into this series. We'll tell you what it is next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Like, think about it. When was the last time you had a service emergency at your house? And if the first person didn't answer, you waited around. No, that's not what you do. You call somebody else. And that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications, all through an app on your phone or your computer. And I love that you don't have to carry 2 phones. With Open Phone, you can manage business calls and texts on one app, whether you're at your desk or on the go. And the shared inbox is an awesome feature. Your team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. The AI call transcripts and summaries save you a lot of time on follow-ups and ensure you never lose track of customer interaction. Open Phone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. If you're switching from another service, Open Phone will even port your existing numbers at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no miss customers.
So before we get to that thing, I was one of the other things we talked about, not to give away the entire show, that I wanted to talk about a little bit for Monday, we didn't get to, was the general draw. There is no easy, don't get me wrong, there's no easy path to the finals. I'm of the opinion, though, that this was about as well as it could be set up for the Lakers as possible. I'll explain why. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. We both agreed, obviously, the best benefit for finishing 2 and 3, you stay on the other side of the bracket of Oklahoma City. Best team in the conference. Lakers won 50 games. They were 16, 17 games behind Oklahoma City by the end of the year. 18 games, I think it was, 19. You don't want to play them any earlier than you have to.
Right. To be clear, that's not being afraid of Oklahoma City. No. That's just being pragmatic about this.
Right. You don't want to play the best team until you have to play the best team. Right. Maybe they lose.
And by the way,
play the best team.
If the Lakers turn out to be the best team in the West, and they are certainly on the short list of teams that could be the best, I imagine the Thunder would like to wait as long as they can before facing the Lakers. Certainly, considering the last 2 games they played against the Thunder, one in which they kicked the crap out of them, and another one in which they made a comeback, were up 1, and then Luka experienced the most egregious ejection of like the last 5 to 10 years. So, I mean, I doubt the Thunder are looking to play the Lakers anytime soon either. So I think this cuts both ways.
I think that's fair. And then from there, I would say, so that's number 1. Number 2, my team that I find most threatening, other than the Thunder, just based on their record and their performance this year, are the Clippers. And with Zubats in the middle, and then obviously Harden, Kawhi, Norman Powell, and like just good depth down that roster. it's the way they're playing going into the playoffs. I think that's a scary matchup. I would not want to have to play both the Clippers and the Thunder potentially to get to a Western Conference final. That's a lot. Third, by the way that it's shaked out, Golden State has a chance to take out Houston. One of two things is going to happen. Either the Rockets win and Golden State's gone. A lot of people think Golden State's a dangerous opponent. And now I think a lot of people do overall, though, consider Houston to be certainly the weakest of the 4 top seeds in the West, 3 or 4. People don't believe in them yet.
They're the least proven, if nothing else.
If nothing else. So there's part of that. But then if Golden State beats Houston, that means the Lakers host the second round. So yes, you in theory have a more difficult opponent. I'm not 100% sold on that, but you have a more difficult opponent in theory, but now you've regained home court advantage. So that's about as, in a conference this difficult, to me, that's about as good of a blueprint as you could possibly get. I guess Memphis, get it through.
I guess if you, on balance, fear Golden State more than Memphis, the hope would be that Memphis just has one really good game against Golden State for 8-7. They become the 7 seed, and then you are, assuming you advance, dealing with either the Rockets or Memphis, 2 teams that I think most people think on balance are less threatening than Golden State.
Correct. And I was basing a lot of this on the assumption that Golden State's going to win that game, but that is not necessarily what's going to happen.
I'm just trying to come up with the most ideal draws possible.
Right. No. Right. And that would be better. I think sort of I was working with the assumption, but you're right. It would be even better if, so this draw kind of worked out. It's hard to say, you're playing a potential 48 win team, a 49 win team, followed by, I think, Golden State finish at 48, I think. So it's not easy
with 48.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Is that 7-8 game? Where is it? That's
7-8 game is in the Bay Area.
Yeah, so it's in San Francisco. So that's what I thought. So again, the assumption is that I think a lot of people think Memphis might not even get in entirely, that they could lose twice. Just given how they've been playing of late, I would expect them to make it in, but we'll see. So anyway, I wanted, because we didn't get a chance to talk about that, wanted to throw that out there. And then before we go, we did talk on Monday about what the Lakers are doing at center. I was a little surprised. We thought a move was coming to convert either Christian Koloko or Trey Jemison III to a standard contract for the playoffs, and then you'd release Alex Len. The Lakers are sticking with Len's sanity, Andy.
Well, I mean,
is it Len's sanity to stick with Len's sanity?
I mean, fouling out in 19 minutes, you can't put a price on that.
Apparently you can. What are they giving him?
I guess
prorated veterans minimum or something.
Yeah, we were both unsure whether or not the Lakers had to officially do this before game time versus Portland or before 11:59 on the 13th. But at this point, doesn't matter what the exacts were, because they have not converted they've not converted Christian Koloko or Trey Jemison III. So Alex Len is here to stay. Like, in the grand scheme of things, this would not qualify as a massive mistake, just because if it ever becomes important enough to matter that much, it means so much else has gone sideways for the Lakers. Who cares? But I will say this, assuming they like Koloko at all, big picture, or even sort of interested in him, unless they've had a long talk with Rich Paul, because Christian Koloko is a clutch client, and they're just like, look,
they do know how to get a hold of him.
Yeah, just look, we like Christian. We'd like him to be a part of the future. We plan on bringing him back this offseason. We just experience yada yada. We really just
Alex Len, literally a bigger body,
right? Unless it is that, I would have converted Koloko. Just between making sure he's under contract for next season and for what it's worth, I like Koloko. I like his upside. Trey Jemison III is already under contract for next year, two-way contract. But also, I just think Koloko's better than Alex Len. Like, whatever Len offers in superior size and experience than Koloko, he offsets it, in my opinion, by being a worse player.
Yeah,
and
I mean, he looks more villainous.
Oh, look, if they're just afraid to cut Alex Len, I don't blame him. Like, he's 7 foot, like 250, and looks scary. If just nobody's got the nards to tell him he's gone, I understand.
There are rumors of a John Wick 5. We all saw Boban got a role. Maybe the Lakers want to have a guy that can be in one of those movies. He's more intimidating. I think it's probably a size and experience thing. I agree with you because regardless of who they brought on, the first solution to, oh no, Jackson Hayes is hurt, would not be start either one of those guys. They would just not start a center.
None of them are likely to play at all unless you absolutely have to. But if you absolutely have to, I'd rather play the guy that's better. And I think Koloko's just better than
I think he is. So I was a little surprised. I don't think this means
he had a good game against Portland.
Yeah, I don't think this means the end of Christian Koloko with Lakers. I do think they'll probably. I don't know exactly. I'd be lying if I said I totally understood the mechanics of when two-ways expire, when you can bring guys back, rights, things like that, or whatever. I think they will try to bring him back on another two-way next year, like a developmental type contract. Maybe he escalates to a regular roster spot. I don't know, but I was a little surprised. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's not anything anybody needs. I think it was one of these things too that was just, we all kind of assumed it was going to happen in the same way that it happened with Jordan Goodwin. Although I guess the time it took for it to happen might have been some sort of indicator.
I mean, with Goodwin, the expectation was just he's in the rotation. Like if you're not going to convert Goodwin, like putting aside what the hell not for, there's also then the question of then why have you been playing him at all? Like, you'd be better off playing whoever it is that you think will be in the rotation in the playoffs, or shrinking the rotation, or whatever. But it makes no sense to play Jordan Goodwin 15 to 20 minutes a night if you're not going to make him postseason eligible.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So in that sense, it was automatic for Goodwin. It is not a massive, massive deal, but I'd be lying if I said I get it. I don't get it at all.
Maybe someone can get an explanation for that. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 34,000 subscribers to the channel. We, of course, getting you ready all week long for this opening round playoff series. Have all the analysis after the game on Saturday. So stay here, subscribe to the channel on iTunes, subscribe to it on Spotify. Go get that at LockedOnDaily.com. Click on Locked On Lakers. Win yourself a prize. Get that newsletter. Everything you need to do to get ready for the playoffs. We will see everyone tomorrow.